right, ladies and gentlemen and photographers, we're going to do composition part for naming conventions. We're not really doing composition anymore, but the deal is you're going to be taking pictures on cameras and you're going to be doing stuff with them. And of all the assignments, this is the one where you're most likely to mess up your images, right? And you mess up your files. So we're going to go over naming conventions. It's something you need to be able to do. So you need to be able to find your work. Other people need to find your work. So even now, I sometimes have to find your work. When you get a job, other people are going to need to get into your files and folders and find your stuff. So the other thing is you don't want to copy over, lose, or have two versions of your work. So an example would be this. This has happened a number of times. So a kid gets a picture and goes click and takes a picture with a kid grabs a camera, takes a picture, and it names that image one, right? So they grab that image off the camera and they drag it into their folder, right? And then a day later they grab another camera and they take a picture, and the camera names this new picture image one. So they grab it off the camera, drag it into their folder, and what's going to happen to that first picture? It's going to get deleted because you've named two things image one, right? Okay, so the idea is you don't want to copy over, lose, or have two versions of the same thing. Same thing, let's say you had, like, I've seen kids do this all the time. Vivian probably did it. So you had like a file, and you had like a project and you worked on it, right? And somehow you had another version of it, like you had something with the same name or pretty close, and then you worked on that one, and then you went back and then like, oh wait a minute, I have some stuff over here and some stuff over there, like I need it together, and so that's not good. So you want to be able to, so how do you find your work? Well, you find your work by creating a folder system where you can find stuff, and you also create a system of naming stuff where you can name stuff where you can find it, right? And so for you guys, I know high school students don't like doing this, but as you get older, you will realize the need for it, because if you lose something a couple times, you're like, wow, I don't want to lose stuff. I always want to be able to find stuff quickly. All right, so I'm going to show you something. I'm going to show you something about my stuff. Okay, so look, so I'm a teacher, and I have files. So if you look over here, wait, can you see what I'm seeing? You can't see what I'm seeing. Here, now you can see what I'm seeing. All right, here's my files and folders. All right, so look, I have a folder for a bunch of stuff, but I have at least one folder for each class. So here's Creative Computers, right? And for Creative Computers, look, I have all these folders, and each of these folders, I have other folders, and each of these folders I have a bunch of stuff, and in here I have stuff. Oh my gosh, I got a bunch of stuff. Anyway, I have like thousands of files that I use, and if I don't keep them organized properly in folders, I'll never find them. Okay, and so I've been as we've been doing projects all year, I've been trying to get you to organize your stuff as well. Okay, so a file is the project that you are working on. Files have extensions that tell Windows what app should open it. All right, so for an example, all right, so oh, by the way, those were my Google Doc files. Let's see. I also have files on Windows. Okay, so here's what it looks like. I also have some files on my computer. So that was my drive in the cloud. But here's ones that are actually saved locally on the hard drive. So at any rate, I have some of the same things, but same thing. I have a Creative Computers folder, and eventually we're going to do the collage. And so these are the files, right? And they have an extension .mp4. Okay, well, what that tells Windows is, oh, that's a video. Open it up with a video software. Okay, and the same thing, if I go to this, it's like, oh, these are all video. Oh, wow, I got lots of videos. If I go here to like collage examples, okay, so this is going to be a .psd. That's a Photoshop document. So it's like, oh, that extension tells the computer what app to open it with. So don't mess with that. If you mess with that, most of the time it's not gonna work. Okay. So sometimes you can get away with changing it, but normally you cannot. So don't mess with the extension. Folders hold and organize files. All right. So for example, back here, okay, so if I go in here and I have a folder for each of my classes: Creative Computers, Game Design 2, Graphic Design. All right, so, and then, anyway, you get the point. I can't move this. Okay. hold on, one more thing here. That's not it. Okay, so here we go. Let's hit the slideshow here. Okay, so every project gets a folder. So write this down in your notes. Every project gets a folder. Put your project file in there. Every project gets an asset folder. Put the assets folder in the project folder. Put the assets in the assets folder. Write that down. Hit pause on that, and then we'll go over that. So here's what I'm talking about. All right, so we're going to do, I think our next project is going to be the video slideshow, right? So we're learning how to take pictures. You're going to take 5 pictures, and you're going to put those 5 pictures, you're going to put a song, you're going to put a video into a video slideshow. Okay, so all kinds of stuff. So you need to have a folder for your project. Okay, inside that folder is where you're going to put the project itself. Come on. Oh my gosh. Okay, so if I go inside the video slideshow folder, this is where I actually keep my project. So right here, this is my movie project. So if I click on that, it's going to open the project. I can edit it, right? But I'm done with it, so I save the finished movie file here. So if I click on that, that's the finished movie file. So I've got my project, finished project. Okay. Now I have my so for this particular project, I have audio assets, so my songs. I have my picture assets, the pictures I took, and then the video assets, right? So normally, for a normal project, you're just going to need one assets folder, but for this one, you're going to need more stuff. Otherwise, you're going to have all kinds of stuff jumbled together. So if I look in your audio assets, you're going to, well, my computer's not enjoying this thing right now, but there's going to be all my MP3s in here. If I look in the picture assets, it's going to be all my JPEGs and PNGs. If I look at my video assets, it's going to be all my MP4s, right? So that, anyway, so that's how you do it. By the way, I added something in here. Every project gets a folder. Put your project file in there. Also put the finished video in there if you're doing a video. All right, let's keep going. Now, here are the rules. Write these down. Avoid special characters. Rule number 1 for how to name stuff. So you want to name files to where you can find them later. Okay, so some computers and some websites don't like these weird symbols, so we don't put those in our names when we're naming things. Rule number 2, use underscores instead of periods or spaces. Same thing, some computers and some websites don't like the spaces, so you wouldn't put portrait and then just a blank space there. You'd put an underscore by the tree. Okay, use underscores instead of periods or spaces. Rule number 3, keep it short but still describe it well. So you want the name to be very descriptive, so you know what it is, so you can find it, right? But you don't want it to be super duper long, right? So as concise as it can be, but also very descriptive. All right, rule number 4, the file name should include all necessary descriptive information so that you can figure out what it is, even if you move it to a different folder. All right, so for example, it's nice if you tell us if this is for English or if it's for Spanish, right? If you just put worksheet 1, okay, well, is it worksheet 1 for Spanish or is it worksheet 1 for English, right? So you have to put enough information. Okay, so if it's like a war photo of Steve, well, what if Steve was in Afghanistan and Iraq? So you have to put the enough descriptive information. All right. So include a version number. Use a V for version, so like V2. So it's always good to have backups of stuff. So because a lot of times things will get corrupted and ruined, or you maybe like you're working on a Photoshop document and you're like adding a picture here, adding this there, right? And adding stuff all around, and you might want to go back, like, oh man, I just did this and I don't like it, and so you can go back. Oh, I'm going to go back to version 3. All right, be consistent. So whatever it's like, so when you get to be an adult, you're going to have a bunch of files like me, and you want to be organized. Just come up with a system and always be consistent. Like, do the same thing every time. Okay, so an example is going to be something like this. So on this, I decided for these pictures, you're going to put the rule that you're going to follow, because we learned all the rules or tips for composition. So you're going to you're going to take a picture and you're going to put the name of the rule that you followed, an underscore, just a short description, underscore, your name, and then what version in case you take the same picture a couple of times. Okay. So come up with a system like that and always be consistent. So you're always like, oh wait, which rule was I following? Oh, there it is, rule. All right. So stay. Be consistent. Okay. Rule number 7: use capitals and file names to make it easy to read. So a capital, 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 capital. That's called camel. This is called camel case, by the way, because like a camel has a hump, hump, hump. That's why they call it camel case. But anyway, use capitals. It makes you can shrink stuff down without extra spaces and make it easy to read. Rule number 8: stay organized with folders that are also named well. So if you have a folder that just like says like portraits, it's like, okay, well, is this portraits for your video slideshow, or are these portraits for your collage, right? So make sure your folders have good names on them, and then leave the file extensions alone. So .pdf means it's a portable document format. That means the Windows knows to open it with Adobe Acrobat, right? So leave the extensions alone. This tells the computer what kind of file this thing is. All right. So here's how I want you to do it. You're gonna, when we're done here, you're gonna go out and take 5 pictures. You're gonna go out and take 5 pictures. So you're gonna need to put the rule, which rule you're following, a short description, your name, and the version number, and then it should either be a JPEG or a PNG. Whatever the camera takes it is going to be fine. And you're going to make a folder called Creative Computers, Composition, 5 Photos, and you're going to save all your photos in there using this naming format. All right, so here's examples. Rule 10 with mustache, Brian Miller, version 1. Rule 10 with mustache. So you might end up taking a couple versions of the same picture, so that you have some backups. Okay. Then same thing, following rule number 1, or you might even put the name of the rule, like the description of the rule. At any rate, all right, that's the idea. All right, by the way, draw this out. This is a portrait perspective and landscape. Oftentimes a portrait, so it's tall. This is wide. This is sometimes what you'll use for taking people pictures, and this is sometimes what you'll use for taking pictures of plants and landscapes, right? But anyway, draw those so and put down the words portrait and landscape. That's going to be important for the test and for knowing. All right, here's the quiz. Here's the quiz number 1. Why is it important to name your files correctly and put them in the correct folder? What's the difference between a file and a folder? What does a file extension do? What is a portrait? What is a landscape? Okay, what is wrong with number 6? All right, so let's see. So write down the naming convention rule that we're breaking. See if I can find it. All right, what is wrong with number 6? What rule are we breaking? Number 6, jack.psg. What's wrong with jack.psd? All right, what's wrong with number 7, Joe by the Creek portrait version 1? What's wrong with number 7? What's wrong with number 8, portrait Joe by Creek version 1? Okay, what's wrong with number 9, Jack by the tree? I'll give you a hint. There's a hint there and there. All right, what's wrong with Jack by the... Okay, so now we're number 10 is Joe by Creek portrait V1. Okay, here I'll give you a hint on this one. What's wrong with number 10? What's wrong with number 11? I don't know where number 11 is. Where is number 11? It must be in here. Nope, not there. It must be in there. All right, number 11, worksheet 1.docx. What's wrong with number 11? All right, what's wrong with where's number 12? I don't see number 12. Okay, so I have no idea what happened here, but let's just do this. What's wrong with number 12 is going to be We're going to just do 1, 2, 3. Now we're going to do 1, 2, and 3. So what's wrong with number 1? Jack by the big green tree in front of the Centennial Hall building wearing pink and blue. What's wrong? And then the next one's going to be number 2. Then the next one's going to be what's wrong with number 3. What's wrong with number 4. And what's wrong with number 5. I'll give you a hint on number 5. It's right there. Answer all those. All right. What's wrong with all those things? Why is that bad? Okay, so let's go to, I think that's it. Let me hit page down. All right. That's it for this video. Thanks, guys.